there's a lot of excitement in the room, and as there should be, because we have had a wonderful day and a half. First of all, I'd like to commend you as an audience. You've been a wonderful, beautiful, attentive, and engaging audience. And certainly we want to thank all of our presenters. You brought some information to us, not only here at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, but here in the state of Arkansas for our public school teachers as well. Information that's going to be critical to us as we collaborate, and that's what this is all about, as we collaborate to put systems in place, technologies in place, to make our students better prepared, whether it's better prepared for coming to college or better prepared when they graduate college to go on into the workforce or to professional and graduate schools. So thank you so much, and we expect you back next year. We're not inviting you back. We expect you to be here. And you're almost committed to us now. There's a bond between, we got that lifeline between us. You've got to come back.
You coming back?
I'm coming back.
Okay.
I knew I knew it had to be Ed Fontenette who would put me on that spot. But yes, I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right here. So we want to start our program, our final, I guess, culminating activity for this Educational Access Conference with this luncheon. I am so very proud to say that when Dr. Benjamin came up with this idea, we all bought into it. We all bought into it, and we have worked with her and all the committees that she's put together to make this happen for 18 years, Dr. Benjamin. It's been a wonderful journey. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the idea. And we know that it's going to become a legacy for here at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Not only is it going to become a legacy, but it's also going to become the source of information that many of us need to make our professions much easier and much more effective. So thank you again. This afternoon, we're going to be blessed with a reflective moment from Ms. Georgette Wiley, who is the Associate Director for the John Brown Watson Memorial Library at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, followed by another one of our talented students, Mr. Gary Grant, who is a music major. And he's going to be presenting, accompanied by Dr. Michael Bates, who is not only the interim chair of the Department of Music, but the director of the choir and the president of the faculty senate. A lot of hats, Mr. Bates. So thank you very much. Following the song, Ms. Debbie Burrow will come again and call those table numbers for us to go through the line. Ms. Wiley.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. To the platform guests, our wonderful State Department partners, our fantastic supporters, and our UAPB family. During yesterday's opening session, the reflective moment focused on comments from a teacher. I find much pleasure in bringing the reflective moment this afternoon with a piece written by a student titled, "Why I Love Teachers." My heart is filled with love for only teachers. You taught me life through characters in a play. My role model was you because you remained in school yourself, constantly learning, growing, and then challenging me to become better. You also complained about homework. I love you because you showed your passion for poetry and hiking and camping when I mistakenly thought you slept in the classroom and ate chalk for food. You involved my parents in my education, so I could not lie about or hide my homework. Not cool at first, but now I understand. I love you because you were real. Real clear, real demanding, and real excited when I would finally get my lessons right. Because of you, I dream I also save trees and money. I create computer games, volunteer in my neighborhood, and I vote. You reached out to me by cell phone, email, and Facebook. And when I still try to run game, you hit me up on Twitter. With me, you were patient, persistent, creative, and happy about the difference you were making in my life. I someday hope to marry and become a parent, but teachers, I will always love you first, not because of whom you are, but because of whom you made me. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Georgette. That's just another example of how one thing spawns another. The reflective moment yesterday was about what a teacher does, and now if I were a betting person, I would bet that Ms. Wiley went home and put that together from a student's perspective for us because of that reflective moment yesterday. Very appropriate. We appreciate it very much. Mr. Grant, is it Grant? Mr. Gary Grant, yes. He is a music major at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff.
Good afternoon. I will sing Del Cabello Más Sutil by Obradors. Del cabello más sutil que tienes en tu trenzado y hacer una cadena para traerte a mi lado. Una alcarazza in tu casa, chiquilla quisiera ser para besarte la boca cuando fueras a beber. Una alcarazza in tu casa, chiquilla quisiera ser para besarte la boca cuando fueras a beber.
Mr. Grant, when I looked around early in the room and didn't see the student nor Dr. Bates, I thought I was going to have to do that for you. That's all right. All right, colleagues, it seems that each of you has been served. And I want, while you're savoring this really delightful meal, let us take this opportunity to recognize the provider of this meal, Thompson Hospitality. And in the rear of the room is their district manager, Mr. Donan Chico. He came in especially for this event. Thank you so much. And Mr. Chico, we want you to know that you didn't have to come. Your staff here does an excellent job. We've got good evaluations each year. Thank you so much for coming. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Andrea Stewart, who is the director of the social work program here at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, who will introduce the leader of our institution for his keynote address. Dr. Stewart.
I've been warned.
All right.
It is a pleasure and an honor to introduce our luncheon speaker. Since my 22 years of employment at the university, I have had the opportunity to hear several of his introductions. He's been introduced as the man with the plan. Y'all remember that? He's been introduced as a man who accepts no excuses. He's been introduced as a prolific writer. He's been introduced as a phenomenal educator. He's been introduced as an accomplished administrator, a committed mentor, a remarkable father, a proud grandfather, a dependable brother, a loving husband. I don't know about that one, but I had to say something funny. I had to have Mrs. Davis. A steadfast friend, a true legend, and most of all, an outstanding leader. However, I introduce each of you to the man with a new plan, with a sense of urgency and a quest for transparency. Ladies and gentlemen, I present our outstanding Chancellor of the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, Dr. Lawrence A. Davis, Jr.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stewart. You made an A. And before I make my remarks, and I can tell you about how long my remarks are going to be, about 18 minutes. And the reason I know is because I have 6 typewritten pages, double spaced, in big letters. And I usually go 3 minutes per page. So if I go over that, Dr. Benjamin, you know that I'm getting too winded, okay? But I feel compelled, before I even recognize appropriately, to do a little advertising for people who seem not to be aware of our university. We don't have to apologize for our university for anything.
That's right. That's right.
And you know, I grew up in my daddy's house, and so I know a lot about this university. We have done a lot with little. A lot with little. Our programs are accredited: music, art, industrial tech, education, athletics, the overall institution, and of course social work. And we should commend Dr. Stewart, because when I became dean, that's when we started the social work program. I can give you the history of all of these programs: computer science, political science, everything. We weren't accredited, and we were so under-informed, we were talking about a social welfare program major. But she should be commended because we just got, through her leadership, 8 years accreditation. NCAA athletics accreditation. And of course, with our challenges with nursing, it's been a challenge ever since I started with the program 2 or 3 decades ago. Our NLE and national accreditation continues. We have some things that we've got to straighten out, and we will do that. We're in the process. But also, if you look at our campus, and those of you, she's been here 22 years, so she knows, Dr. Blakely knows, Dr. Benjamin knows. We have a beautiful campus. But a few years ago, we were parking in the middle of the quadrangle. The library was not in the condition that it should be for study. Isn't that right, Mr. Barnett? All of the buildings have been upgraded, or they're in the process, because our commitment was that we would have adequate facilities for all of the programs of the university. We're in the process now of upgrading industrial technology, okay? And we're working on Corbin Hall and redoing some of Caldwell Hall. I'm doing this for television, you understand that? We didn't have, a few years ago, a football team, a baseball team, a softball team, a tennis team, a golf team. You understand? And we don't have them now just because we want to play a game. We have it because it adds to the opportunity spectrum for students. There are students here from Venezuela and Canada Africa, they wouldn't be here if it were not for athletics. And also from other states if it weren't for football and basketball. It helps with your diversity. Technology. We have the top technology in the world. See, you know, I served on President Bush's commission on HBCUs, and I have been a North Central evaluator for I don't know how many years. I've been all over, North Dakota, South Dakota, Colorado, Michigan, West Virginia. There's a lot of schools, Langston, Prairie View, all of them. We don't have to take second seat to anyone, all right?
That's right.
Now, with technology, see, we have our own printing operation. I think all of these things were printed in our print shop. And the idea behind that is not only can we publish our own information, but we can also train some people to learn the craft because there is a need. We have our own radio station, 50,000 watts, cover most of Arkansas. And it streams over the internet. We have a television station. They can see us all over the world. We recently connected to our own Arkansas Research and Educational Network, which means we are hooked up to the broadband. We can communicate with people all over the world at all of the universities. Because you remember, I said what? No excuse. And of course, you know, I tell you what the downside of no excuse is. When I give you everything you say you need to be successful, you're not, then you're a problem. And that's what it meant. But anyway, I had to get a few of those points in for those that seem to be uninformed. And we are arranging now, through Dr. Benjamin's leadership, for the Higher Learning Commission to come here and give us the final stamp of approval on the PhD in aquaculture. Now to my esteemed colleague, Dr. Blakely, and we go back to high school. I won't tell you how far that was. And of course, Dr. Benjamin, I pass out accolades to you for conceiving and persevering with this conference, which has been invaluable to our programs at the university. And this one this year, I don't know, I believe it might be the best ever. And of course, our presenters were excellent. I mean, I don't know anything I can add to anything they said, but I'll try to stay up here 15 more minutes. But I was touched by Mr. Johnson because I take great pride in his accomplishments, no matter from whence he came, and he's not the only one. Now, some of the students that come see me in Grayland, they are running a con game on the chancellor. But I'm not wise enough to know which ones they are. So I help all I can because that's why we're here. And what that simply does, it reminds us of why we're here. You know, you heard what Al Sharpton said. If you don't come to this world and make a difference for people, then they shouldn't have a funeral. They should take you from the morgue to the grave. But we want to make a difference, and that's the reason we serve and continue to serve. Now, that topic was kind of difficult for me to choose a topic, but I said that maybe I'll just share some of my thoughts about what we're challenged with on making the P through 13 connection. Now, what the topic actually accentuates is that P through 13 education is a continuum. Now, if you all want to be bothered with me, I will tell you what continuity really means in the mathematical concept, but I don't think you really want to know. The simple thing about continuity is if you take a pencil and draw a function and you don't have to pick it up, it's continuous. Okay. So what we have done, we have artificially created tiers. And these tiers apparently are disjointed. That's where you were getting these decimal results. So here we go. Kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, and college. Everybody has a little tier. But actually, we are one educational system. The reason that we are not successful, we're getting these decimal results, is because we have not unified that system. So therefore, we're being crucified separately. Because how can we graduate students from high school, many of whom are not able to negotiate the first semester of college? And then at the university, we say, they came to us from high school lacking basic skills essential to success. The high school passes it on down to the grade school, middle school, nursery school. Then somebody finally said, well, it's the home's fault. The public responded just like the gentleman said yesterday, Senator Broadway. They said, you all training the teachers. And the teachers are the reason that we are doing better. So we're kind of trapped in an educational whirlpool that we don't seem to be able to escape from because we're just going around and around with no solution. But because of the economic challenges unparalleled in recent years, which have focused attention on more efficiency and the seemingly waste of funds on remediation, the legislature has taken some action. And they have enacted some laws that are going to compel us to do something. They didn't tell us what to do. And we had a lot of discussions with them with Dr. Johnson, you know, trying to get people to understand what our challenge is who don't seem to be very familiar with it, Dr. Bates, and maybe not even care a lot about it. They just want some results. Now, we met some of those proposals they had with consternation, but you know, as I reflected on it, Dr. Benjamin, I said, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that they have put us in a position where we're going to be forced to work on it. It's a good thing. Because we couldn't continue the way we're going, because the way we are going is we're going to end up as a third world country. So it forced us. Now, one thing that I have always been very happy about as an American, that we live in a nation that whenever we commit to something, we resolve whatever the problem is. And you know, without collective intelligence and educational preparation, there's no reason why we can't solve a problem that has to do with education. All these PhDs and MEDs and all of this. It must mean something that we can do. And I've said this over and over again, because I remember vividly, you know, when that Sputnik went running around the world, and we got all excited, oh Lord, we're getting behind. And you know, we focused on it, and in 10 years, we walked on the moon. 10 years. But that's because what? We focused on it. And whatever obstacles we had, we dealt with. And as a result, not only did we go to the moon, but we perpetuated a new universe of technology. Not just getting to the moon, but Velcro patches. You know, you can, okay, torqueless wrenches. I can go on and on. That was the result of us collectively focusing on a problem that we saw. Now, I'm not so vain as to believe that I have the answer to these challenges, but I'm gonna submit humbly some of my thoughts. In physics, engineering, and mathematics, the way we go about solving problems, Dr. Page, we first sit down and talk about what the assumptions are. Because we have to agree on the assumptions. Because if you have different assumptions, it's going to have different results, okay? So like in mathematics, we like to think this. If A equals B, and B equals C, then A equals C. That's called a transitive property. But that's not necessarily obvious. But we agree to it, but we can't prove it. You understand what I'm saying? It's something we agree. We agree that if A equals B and B equals C, A equals C. All right. Then we gather all the facts that we can garner. And then we start proposing solutions. Then we test those solutions to ascertain if they solve the problem. If not, what do? Go back and look for another solution. Now, in nursing, they call that the nursing process. They simply evaluate the patient, diagnose what the problem is, prescribe a medicine, give it to the patient. If it doesn't kill them, bring them back and see what the result was. If they are well, it's over. If they're not, we go back through the process. In science, we call that the scientific method. That's what your automobile mechanics does. You tell them it's rattling, they keep changing stuff until it stops. Now, here's some of the assumptions that I have. All students can learn. Now, I'm not talking about somebody that obviously is mentally deficient, but average people, all people can learn. How do I know that? All the Russian children speak Russian. All the German children speak German. American children should speak English, and they can. Why do German children speak German? Because they're in Germany, immersed in the society. So whatever language you want people to speak, you have to immerse them in it. And I tell you, I have Dr. Blakely, you know, I managed to get through English. But when I listen to TV now, I wonder if what they taught me was right. So this seems like the agreement of subject and verb is going out the window. They can't get the objective and nominative cases together. And I just don't know. So what I'm saying is, if students in the right environment, they will speak correct English. And the reason I say that is because much of the problem that we are facing has to do with inability to communicate in the acceptable language pattern. I don't think these cell phones are helping us, because now they've invented a whole new language. I don't even know what some of that stuff means. Second assumption I have, students in poor environments are disadvantaged relative to learning. Now, here's what I mean by that. I was blessed. I thank God for it. Grew up in my daddy's house. We had everything. Harvard Classics, encyclopedias, Ebony, Jet, Negro Digest, Arkansas Gazette, Arkansas Democrat, Southern Mediator Journal, Pittsburgh Courier, Chicago Defender, on and on. I like to read. My wife came from a home, wasn't much more than a Bible. Now, it's not something you can't overcome, but I'm saying it is a disadvantage. And then, isn't it something that the children of doctors, many of them become physicians? The children of lawyers, many of them become attorneys? Is that by accident? All of my daddy's children almost became teachers. So some of them now are doctors and lawyers and things, but we basically were teachers. Now, the third assumption I made was that parental support, and there are exceptions, is important to student success in school. Now, you heard Mr. Johnson say this morning, he said one of the things that gave him the drive was what? Parents who supported it. They didn't have a lot of material things, but they gave him soul things that made him persevere and focus. And I say there are exceptions because my dad said one of the things he lamented as in his latter years was that he never spent a single night with his parents. Not a single night. The fourth assumption is well-prepared teachers compatible to the students they teach is crucial. Now, we have some issues with that at the university. We're going to talk about that another time. Your degree does not make you compatible. It just gives you a license. You know, like I tell people, you get a license to drive a license, it doesn't give you a car, does it? It just gives you a license to drive, you get one. But anyway, the fifth assumption is adequate teaching tools, supplies, and equipment are essential to the proper preparation of students. You know, when I was in high school, I was blessed because I was in a charter school. We were on the campus, and those practice schools were there so that the practice teachers who couldn't go out in the greater community at that time would have someone to practice on. So we had the same equipment as a college and teachers who were dedicated. We were very well prepared. Now, first through 8th grade, I was at the elementary school on the campus. It was a charter school. Not everybody was in there. You had to pay for one thing. For 3 years, I was in J.C. Corbin High School, Dr. Benjamin. That was the high school for the college. It was also charter. But they hit on the economic challenge like we do now. So at the end of my junior year, we finally had to go to public school. Romero High School was one of the top high schools, one of the high schools that was available back in the day. You only had about 5 that African Americans would go to for high school during my dad's day. And when I got over that, classmate Richardson, they didn't have near what we had at Corbin. They had one microscope in the lab. You understand what I'm saying? When I left Corbin and we had a good basketball team, I was kind of big-headed about that too until they benched me for a while to get my head straight. But anyway, we had to warm up with lighting, Dr. Bennett, black and gold and big stuff all over. Went over to Merrill, they didn't even have warm up. We had to warm up in our blue jeans. Now, I'm just talking about the difference in resources, you understand? Adequate teaching tools, supplies, and equipment are essential to the proper preparation of students. Granted, George Washington Carver did a great thing with the peanut. But with some of the things that we have to work on now, you have to have equipment.
That's right.
That was one of the things that gave me a challenge when I went to Brown University to study physics. We hadn't had much lab. And then all of a sudden you got to measure and weigh and calibrate. You know, I didn't know that if you had an instrument that measured fluid flow that you had to calibrate. They said, well, if it said 2 gallons a minute, that's it. No, you have to calibrate. Draw a calibration curve. So there are some things for which you have to have what? Equipment. Now, we have over the years had some great success with students, and this is one of them. I'll talk about this later. But the last assumption was, and that's the reason I'm getting to it, teachers who want to teach and witness the success of their students. Now, some people, somebody told me the other day, I'm going to take a teaching degree in case I said, I don't want to hear that. Now, I want to hear you say that teaching is going to be a backup plan. Because if you want to teach the children that you have, you will do a better job. Now, given those assumptions, there got to be others. I'm going to go through the actions that I suggest, and I'm going to do it very hurriedly. We must assure that the teachers want to teach that we have. Doesn't do any good to walk into a classroom. These kids don't know anything, give them all F. You haven't done anything. I can get the janitor to do that. Your challenge is that found a way to teach them. Didn't you hear what one of the people said? Don't be giving them watered down stuff. Make them step up to the standard. Make them step up to the standard. Gloria Lee, now Gloria Davis, was my secretary when I became dean. She didn't go to college. She went to business school, Dr. Blakely. And she said the requirement was that you had to type 50 words per minute. Not 49, not 48, not 49 and a half. And if you didn't get to 50, you didn't finish. When I was in high school, we had about 100 people all across the state. Some of us got diplomas and some of us got certificates of attendance because that was a standard that had to be met. And that's what you should say. Now, the other thing, this is just on the side. I had to learn this, Dr. Bates, with experience. If you have a class and you're teaching the students, and you get the first two tests and they make an F, you've lost them unless you have some hope at the end. The objective should be that when this student leaves the class, that they have mastered the content. So you can't go and average everything together, because if they have those two F's, I don't care what they make on the rest of it, they can't get out. I won't go there. Then the other thing is the teachers need to understand from which the student comes. How you gonna teach a student and you don't know anything about it? I had to learn that in teaching calculus. Students that come from the city, and you're in calculus and you're putting water into a trough, or filling up a silo with corn, and you want to figure out if you put it in at so many bushels per second or whatever, how fast is the height changing the silo? How fast is the water rising in the trough? You first got to know what the trough is. When you're teaching statistics, some children come from homes where they couldn't have cards, they couldn't have dice. So you say, what's the probability of pulling an ace out of a deck of 52 cards? Well, first of all, they have to know there's 52 cards in there. They have to know there's 4 suits. Have to know you have 4 aces. Then you have to answer the question, is that if you pull twice, is it going to be with replacement or without replacement? If you want to talk about probability with dice, you got to first learn how you play. You got to know each die has 6 faces. Each face has 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 dots. So when you roll it, one of them's going to come up. If you roll 2 of them, you're going to get 2 of them. Then you say, well, what's the probability you're going to get a 7? How many ways can you get a 7 out of 36 different ways? You got me? But you have people who want, oh, I got my doctorate. They're too far below me. Well, if they are, you're in the wrong place. Now, the other thing, I wrote a paper on this years ago when I was dean. I'm trying to get through. We must augment inadequate home environments with external intervention. Now, these people want, let's cut our Head Start. Well, they say, well, it doesn't work. It works only for 3 years. That's because after 3 years, you don't do anything else. You must continue. You have to get in there and intervene in that class or home and make up for what they don't have. Weekends, long day school. The lady said, charter school, they have a longer day. There's a reason for that. We must ensure that teacher preparation is adequate, that teachers are prepared for the subject they teach. Now, let me tell you something. You know, I've had people come to me in the summer to take a course. So we go back and teach kids, because they had one course in the algebra and they tell them they got to teach math. They don't have any business in there. That's when you have students come to college and they think the way you add fractions, they add the numerators together and then the denominators together. Because someone taught them that. And it would be better if they didn't know anything. All right? And so we need to be sure that the teachers that we put in front of these kids, especially mathematics, that's my love, that they really have mastery of the subject, because I'll guarantee you, anybody in this room, if you will work and let me teach you, I'll take you all the way through calculus. I promise you I can. Now, some people say, I don't want to do it. I can't make you do it, Dr. Benjamin. But I guarantee you, because if I can't explain it to you, I don't understand it well enough. All right? We must assure that the resources and environment of the schools are sufficient. We got to do that. I'm talking about working with P through 13 now, you understand? And what we used to do when I was in Maryland, they didn't have shops. So the university did. So students from Maryland had to walk out here in the evening and take the trade courses. So what did we take? I had machine shop, electricity, carpentry, and drafting. See, you had to take those, which is another way of learning, because some people learn with their hands and not their head. Then the other thing is, we must be sure that what is taught in the entire spectrum is what is to be tested. I taught, you heard me say this before, but I'm going to repeat it because everybody didn't hear this. I taught as assistant to Mrs. Davis at Pine Bluff High School for 5 years, advanced placement calculus. Now, I had to teach under her because I'm not qualified to teach at high school. I haven't passed all them practices, Dr. Johnson. And it's one of the most rewarding experiences I ever had. Because every summer, they had a workshop. And the workshop talked about teaching techniques and what is to be tested. Now, you don't go back and give the students the test because you don't have it. But you know what is essential in the subject matter of calculus. You know that if a person knows calculus, this is what they need to be the answer. So you give them that information, be sure they have it. And then I formatted every test that we had in class was formatted just as it was on the exam that they took at the end of the year. And all you had to do, make 3 out of 5, and you had college credit. They don't even give the test in Pine Bluff anymore. But when I was there, they all took it. We had 2 to fill it, and one of them the other day told me he went to a school and saw that they had the same textbook we had. And he said, I've had that. The man said, you want to test out? Studied 6 weeks, passed the midterm with A, 6 more weeks, found with A. Because it's the same thing. We formatted the question the same way. I started taking standardized tests in the 3rd grade. We wrote questions for that test. That's the reason I know that if you don't take geometry, algebra, and trigonometry in high school and have a good course, you can't make but 16 on the math test. To get above 16, you have to answer those questions. We need to do that. Now, I'm sorry I missed the session on ACT test, but I would suggest that we analyze that test. How would you like to have a test, one test, that determined whether you would live or die? A written test. Not knowing who made the test. Right? And what they really want to ask you about. Because it's not objective. There's no such thing as an objective test. How do I know that, Dr. Page? Because objective means that we graded objective, meaning the answer is A, B, C, or D. So I don't have any room for giving parts of credit. But I wrote the questions. And that's where the objectivity ended. That was a subjective decision. Finally, and I'm through, you can go home. P through 13 faculties need to become a single faculty.
That's right.
You got me? To assure that the expectations as you move up the line are commonly agreed to. We shouldn't be expecting the students to know one thing when they get to the university, and the teachers who are graduating are preparing for something else. And the only way we can be sure of that is if we are working what? Together. Now, if we don't start working together, we all gonna sink together. It's simple as that. And I suggest that we meet on a regular basis. We got 4 schools right here in Pine Bluff. We can have one of these meals. Somebody give us some money to eat. And bring everybody together and do just like we do in this conference. Let's talk. Let's see what we need to do. Because we have 3 high schools who have a remediation rate that is horrible. And the other one not too good. You got me? We can do something about it. Then also, I would suggest that some of you esteemed professors, that you find an opportunity to teach with someone in one of the high schools or grade schools. It will be an opening for you. Okay? It will help you understand something. Then last, we got to have some discipline in these schools. And we'll work on that. But this is something we'll have to do jointly. Now, I don't know if we do all these things, if we'll realize our aspirations. But I can tell you one thing, what we're doing now, we're getting a greater F. So, we must address our shared challenge, and we must do it with a sense of urgency.
What a wonderful way to bring this conference to a close. Dr. Davis, I hear you, and I've heard you for a lot of years. And I can stand here and say that your commitment and your dedication and your persistence has been continuous and evident over all of those years. So we appreciate you, we appreciate what you say, we appreciate where you're leading us. I'm not a math major, but I did learn that a little learning is a dangerous thing. Dr. Benjamin, would you come and present this, please? That's for Dr. Davis.
I can tell. The colors.
Okay.
Okay. All of the people out there that understand the colors
That's true.
understand.
That's true.
Chancellor Davis, on behalf of all of us, we each year want to give you a memento to just symbolize our support for your leadership and your vision. And this year, we are presenting it to you in some very familiar colors.
Thank you very much.
We've been talking all day and all during this conference and previous conferences as well about how much we appreciate what Dr. Benjamin has brought to us and how much we anticipate how much more she's going to bring to us. And on that note, we want to give you a little token as well. Chancellor Davis, would you come,
I'd be
please?
glad to. Dr. Benjamin, on behalf of all of us, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Got a handshake on that.
I'm going to get Dr. Lorenz next.
Okay.
During the course of the years that we've been doing this, we've been trying to find out from you what you like, what you need, what you've been able to use. And so we put together a committee, a follow-up committee. Dr. Paul Lorenz, who is a professor in the Department of English, Theater, and Mass Communication, is chairing that committee. So Dr. Lorenz, do you have some directives? You want to leave with the committee group, I mean? No, come here.
Well, we heard Dr. Davis say that this may have been one of the best Access conferences we've had. But if it ends in 10 minutes when we all walk out to the parking lot, it will be a failure. We need to continue working. We need to keep working. And you also heard Dr. Davis say that P through 13 should be a single faculty. And that's why follow-up activities from this conference are an important thing. If you have any, in your classes, have any use for any of our faculty, please contact Dr. Benjamin's office, and we'll see what we can do. We can send people out, okay? If indeed you have an interest in having one of the speakers you heard today come and speak to your group, contact us. We will see if we can arrange, help you get those speakers to come see you. One of my jobs actually to do also is to have issue a follow-up survey. And so you can expect in your email, as soon as Dr. Benjamin's office can get the email list together for us, okay, an email from me asking for your input for next year's conference, because again, as Dr. Davis says, nothing we do today is good enough for tomorrow. And next year's conference is going to be better than this one. We're working on it. So if you have any topics that we didn't cover this time or you want covered in more detail, let us know what they are. If you know speakers who are energetic and have answers that we haven't heard yet, let us know who they are. We will try to contact them and try to bring them next year. If you have any suggestions for improving this conference, let us know. There will be a space on the email survey that I send for you to do that. Okay. We also like to know how you're using the information you picked up at this year's conference in your classes and with your colleagues. If you have material if you found material useful, let us know. It helps us get the funding for next year. Okay. If you pass it on to colleagues, we want to know that. Mostly, we want your input to make the next conference more responsive to your needs. You know what they are. You know what they are better than I do, better than Dr. Benjamin does. Let us know what it is, and we will try to do our best to make next year's conference much better than this one. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lorenz. And now we'd like to ask Dr. Benjamin to come forward with some closing remarks. Before she comes, however, I'm not going to get myself into any trouble by trying to name names and identify groups. But I have already said to you what a wonderful audience you've been and how much we appreciate your being here. I do want to recognize the members of the host institution, UAPB faculty and staff. Stand. There you go. So at least at our own institution, we support this conference. And we want you to go out and spread the word so that next year, our attendance will have doubled. Dr. Benjamin.
Thank you so much, Dr. Blakely. Let's acknowledge Dr. Blakely as the MC for this occasion. Great job. And to all the presenters, it's just been a wonderful, wonderful event. Dr. Blakely, you started something that you said could be a problem. Yesterday, we acknowledged adult education and Dalloway School District. And today, it's Dalloway, they've been here. I'd like to acknowledge the staff from the Arkansas River Education Services Cooperative. That staff has been with us, and we really appreciate all of the fact that they were here and they supported us. Now, there are other groups that are here. We know you're here. We see you moving about, and you will make us the proudest by going back, putting some of the new ideas that you've learned into implementation. I'm going to close out this session by simply referring you back to our objectives, which are on the third page, starting from the front for the conference. And I'm not going to insult you by reading those objectives, but I wanted you to look back over them to see if, in fact, we achieved our objectives. There were some things that we wanted to have happen in terms of networking, new strategies, database information. Just look at them and see if you think we made an A on that. If we didn't make an A on that, we're falling short. And now I would like to extend thanks to Chancellor Davis, who is always here for us with this conference. And when we run short on funds, he always helps us out, and we want to take acknowledgement of that. And to the Planning Committee, one of the speakers, I believe it was Dr. Kimbrell on yesterday, who said, I looked at all of your committees. I know that a lot of work has gone into this conference. We're not going to name all the members of the Planning Committee, but I would just ask them to stand with all members of the Planning Committee for this conference. And if you're on a subcommittee for this conference, please stand, and I will ask you to help acknowledge them. It's months. It's at least 4 months of planning, and as we get closer, it's weekly meetings to make sure that everything is in place. And I want you to say that they do that while having full-time other responsibilities at the university. And to each presenter, we don't have a very large budget, so we don't have a lot of money to entice anybody to come and present, but we have a great purpose. And most people help us within whatever our means are. And we thank you very much for that and for the quality of the presentations that you brought to us. One thing that we like a lot in this conference, we like to provide data-driven information, and we like to present models of success. Sometimes it is a program that is successful, sometimes it is an individual that is successful. But what we do, we like to hold those examples up So if you would like to use some of these examples back in your home organization, at least you know who the people are, you've heard them, and I love the fact that people were given websites on where you could go and get additional information in addition to the notebook that was so lovingly prepared for you. And if you will notice, at least 2 of our Greek organizations helped put those notebooks together, which means that we have a whole university commitment to this project. And to our sponsors. We couldn't do it without sponsors, the Arkansas Department of Higher Education, and we have some anonymous sponsors. If we were to tell their names and all, we would get them in trouble, so we won't tell the names of those sponsors, but we know you're there and we appreciate what you do. The music, Dr. Bates, if you're still here, and the students. We are so proud of them, and when we tell you they are nationally renowned, I think when they stand up here and perform, you know that we are telling you the truth about them. They were outstanding. And I have to mention literature and the arts. Most every speaker that stood up here mentioned some book, or some article, a play, or a movie that proved helpful in terms of getting points across. And it gets back to Dr. Davis's emphasis on reading and literacy. And what it is, really, at the end of the day, is the integration of knowledge. And that's what we are going to have to draw from to get us to where we want to go in terms of student success. So to bring it home, I want to thank you for presenting models, for listening to models, for sharing data, for discussing your values, for identifying challenges, for identifying strategies to address those challenges, and for the networking that I've seen you do. I've listened. It brought joy to my heart to watch a person go up to a presenter and say, I want your information because I want to bring you to my campus. I want to bring you to my organization to let you present to a larger audience. The Commissioner of Education said that he wanted to bring Dr. Broom, just an example. I've heard lots of other people mention. He wants to bring Dr. Broom back to Arkansas to talk to all the principals. That is just such a wonderful testament to the purpose of this conference, which is to disseminate useful database information. So as we close it out, if you liked anything that you heard here, go ahead and mark your calendar for April. Just save all of the dates in April for us, and we'll pick one, because we hope to see you next year. We hope you have a safe trip home, and that as you go your separate ways, you'll take with you a good word for the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Thank you very much.
Good job.